New York basketball. That's a thing, right? The New York Knicks made a huge trade. Joel, this has been an interesting time. First off, welcome to
It
Break
has.
Panel Sports. Once again, we're back at it because we recorded the episode, what was it, Friday, and got it
Yeah.
up, did everything. We're saying, okay, wow, we covered all the hottest topics in sports. Turns out the Pistons won a game. That was
Ah,
cool. And then it was that night or it was that day, the
yeah.
day we were going to upload it, the Saturday. Yesterday, the Knicks make this huge trade and it just wallops every story that we did in the original episode, Joel. Wasn't that fun?
No,
So
really
now here we
wasn't.
are. But I mean, hey, still listen to that episode about Russell Wilson, Joe Flacco, and the Detroit Pistons, who I said they were going to win last night. I
Yeah,
said they
you
were going to win
did.
last
You
night.
did say that.
I
That's kind of
mean,
funny.
we did say it. I also put out that the 4-game winning streak is possible, and hey,
You
it's
just
it's
need three more.
technically it's technically possible. Well, I'm saying if they win, they're not just going to win one and then lose 28 more. They're going to win a couple games. Maybe they'll win one, lose one, or win one, lose three, win one. They'll go on. They'll get stable. And now I know we're kind of getting sidetracked for a second, and I'll get into the next. Now they have 3 wins. Wizards have what, 5? So who's really that
Hmm.
bad? Who's really that bad? The Wizards are worse than the Pistons, Joel. You heard it here first. But anyway, when you talk about a franchise who appears to be mismanaging their books, mismanaging their roster, mismanaging everything about what they do, the New York Knicks, the most famed franchise in the NBA, if you ask someone from the East Coast, they made a big trade the other day. RJ Barrett, Immanuel Quickley, and a second round pick. That's gone. They get back OG Anunoby, who's a good player, great defender, led the league in steals last year. Malachi Flynn and Precious Achua. That's the trade the New York Knicks made. Joel, you're a Knicks fan. I'm a Celtics fan. And if you go on her TikTok, Joel had some words to say about the old trade. And Joel, you're not upset by this trade.
Not really. Not really. Okay, I'm I'm not happy about the trade, but I'm also not like mad. I mean, when the trade first happened, I texted you like
You were going nuts.
WTF,
Yeah.
what the hell's going on here? I don't
Yeah. You were
understand.
going
It
nuts.
doesn't make any sense. Then I processed it a little bit and I was like, okay, you know what? I mean, you look on Twitter, you look on Instagram, whatever. Everyone seemed to be so mad that they traded Immanuel Quickley. I'm like, okay, now let's pump the brakes a little bit here. He was going to be a free agent. Okay. He was going to be a restricted free agent and he was demanding anywhere from 25 to 30 million dollars a year. Do you really think the New York Knicks are going to pay that? If if they were going to pay that, they would have paid him by now. This trade is proof they were not going to pay him that much money. So why not trade him? Why not do it? Like it get something back for him. I am, however, not entirely happy that they traded away RJ Barrett this quick into his career. And I say this quick, even though it's been 5 years, he's only 23 years old. The guy is 23 and he entered the league when he was like 18, 19 years old. I mean, like it sucks because like I said, RJ Barrett, now sure, there is nothing about his game that I would say excels above others. There's nothing about his game that I would say is amazing. But the one thing about RJ Barrett that I liked in that draft class, you look at Zion, Ja, you look at RJ. The thing that I liked about RJ is that his best ability was his availability. That man did not miss games.
No.
I was watching him for 5 years. Trust me right now, I never saw him miss games like that. I never saw him deal with any significant injuries. It never happened. He always played. It was you like those guys. You value those guys. Those guys are not easy to come across, especially in today's NBA with load management and everything along those lines. However, at this point, yeah, I say the Knicks were kind of expecting something more from RJ. And in these past 3 years, his stats have kind of been dwindling a little bit. As he was averaging 20, then he was averaging 19, then he was averaging 18. This year, I think he's averaging like Like I don't know, like I think it's 18, but like the past few games, it's like he'll get 18 points, but it'll take him 18 shots to do that. You
Right.
know what I mean? So it sucks, and I understand that people have been frustrated with RJ Barrett. I don't think he was that bad of a player. I really didn't, and it hurts worse when you were watching a guy from when he was in college to when he's drafted by your favorite team. You're watching his entire career with your favorite team, and then you get to witness it end. That hurts.
Yeah.
That really sucks. You
Ask me
know,
about Marcus Smart.
well,
You know,
I can't even imagine
that
about
was that
that.
was that was a tough one. Watching him at OK State and him playing for the Celtics for so long, playoff runs, everything. Didn't have a lot of playoff runs with RJ. You did. Had to kind of just throw that in there.
Oh no, they had two playoff runs with RJ.
2 quick exits. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, they made it to second round. I'm not arguing about their Knicks. Anyway,
I'm just kind of
I
digging the dagger a little bit. I'm
I
gonna do
know.
that even more once I get to my part of this.
Fair enough, but OG Anunoby. Okay, let's just get this out of the way. I think he's a good player.
Yes.
Okay, I do think it's a good player, and he has been somewhat like you look at. I mean, I'm into like the Knicks rumors on like Twitter or whatever. He has been rumored to getting traded to the Knicks for like the past 2 years. It's been happening for like 2 years now. Okay, and now we can finally stop talking about a potential OG Anunoby trade. It's happened. It's here. It's happened. I just did not think the price for him would be this high. I did not think that was going to happen. I thought maybe when we were talking about trades, because prior to this trade, there was DeJounte Murray, there was Zach LaVine. I thought maybe, they have a couple first round picks. Maybe they use those. No, it's two guys that Knicks fans honestly care about. I think OG is a good player. I think he's fine. I think he's a great defender. I think he's good for what their situation is this year, losing Mitchell Robinson, who was ideally a candidate for Defensive Player of the Year before he got hurt. Now he's out for the year. But that's just it. That was the whole year. OG Anunoby, I don't know if you know this, he has a player option after this year.
He
Who's
does.
to say he ever wanted to be with New York? Who's to say he says, you know what? I screw this. I didn't ask for this trade. I don't want to be here. I'm gonna go make some more money somewhere else. He has every right to do that. And I don't know necessarily. What I think is happening here is the Knicks believe that they can get another guard in free agency to pair it with Jalen Brunson. That's what I think they're thinking that could happen, and that'll cause OG Anunoby to re-sign with them, and they could have this team long term. I don't know exactly how that's gonna work because I feel like there's a lot of hypotheticals with this trade. Okay, yeah, this trade works if you re-sign him long term. Okay, this trade works if you go out in free agency and you go sign some all-star guard or whatever, or you trade for somebody. I don't know. Like, there's a lot of hypothetical. There's a lot of what ifs in this trade. Right now, initially, Toronto walks out like bandits, man. They it's great for Toronto. I don't understand. RJ Barrett is signed until 2027. He's locked in with Toronto. He's gonna be there. Immanuel Quickley, he's demanding money. So the Raptors have money. So he's probably gonna stay with Toronto as well. So you get two players who are ideally starters for you that are gonna be around for years to come. So I think it works out for the Toronto Raptors long term. Knicks, it could work out for them. So I'm not totally mad about it, but it just hurts when you see it happen to guys that you really care about.
It hurts a lot for the New York Knicks. And here's my thing. I fully get the side of this situation, right?
Mhm.
Where, yes, you weren't going to re-sign Immanuel Quickley. You weren't going to bring back this guy. RJ Barrett's development hadn't been there. I fully am understanding of the Knick fan that sits there and says, I understand why my team did this. And I get it. And I like OG Anunoby more than most people. It
He's a
fits
good player.
it fits the Knicks' needs. He's a 3-and-D guy. He's one of the best defenders in the NBA. Great wing, right? My favorite thing though is now, okay. One, it looks like the Knicks are prepping for another trade. They opened up a trade exception with this
Yeah.
trade about just over $5 million. You have assets to trade. You didn't trade too many draft picks. You traded one draft pick. You have contracts you need to get off the books. I'm with that. However, this is the New York Knicks. You talk
Yeah,
about free agency. The Knicks haven't been a free agent destination. They
not really.
haven't been a place people want to be at. So who's to say? What you talking about? Paul George in free agency? If that's not happening,
Probably
DeMar
not.
DeRozan isn't a world changer. There's nobody out there that you can go get. I don't buy the Embiid leaving stuff. I don't buy that. They can go win a championship this year. So the New York Knicks trade away a 23-year-old potential star. Not just one of them, basically two of them, with Quickley being 24 years old. And you say, everybody, this is the idea, right? The Knicks weren't going to re-sign him. Well, Joel, why is that? Why wouldn't they re-sign Quickley? Which I think that they should have done.
I don't.
You're paying Josh Hart $18 million next year.
I
Evan
was gonna say,
Fournier has a team option. You're gonna accept that now? If those two contracts are off your books, you're bringing Quickley back. You have the 20 to 25, 20, $30 million that he's going to demand from the Toronto Raptors potentially, let's say. You have these bad contracts, and also the worst contract is Julius Randle, in my opinion. There are contracts that shouldn't be here. This team should have both of those players, but they don't, Joel. They don't. And now they're stuck with the mid-3 in New
oh,
York.
I've seen that nickname. I
Is it
I want to
wrong?
answer that.
I
I want
love
to answer
Jalen
that really
Brunson.
quickly about the Immanuel Quickley thing. So this is what I'm looking at as far as his contract goes. Okay. Now you mentioned that they would have the 20 to 23 million in order to re-sign him, right?
Easily.
My thing is, first of all, I think it would be a little more than that to re-sign him. Also, I believe that there are assets out there that the Knicks would like to go get. One thing about the New York Knicks that a lot of people have like kind of been disregarding prior to this trade, they've actually been like one of the deepest, like sneaky deepest teams
Oh, yeah.
on their depth charts. Like they've actually been okay. So when I'm looking at their starting lineup, okay, it's most likely going to be Jalen Brunson, Dante DiVincenzo, OG Anunoby, Julius Randle, and Isaiah Hartenstein. That's probably going to be the ideal starting lineup. After this year, mentioned guys like Josh Hart, Quentin Grimes. I think they're going to look to re-sign Quentin Grimes. I don't think he's been that bad of a player. I think they're trying to develop him into a three. He's one of those know your role type of guys. And I texted you last night. They signed Deuce McBride to a 13 million not 13 year, $13 million deal.
Yeah.
And clearly they like him. Clearly
They
they
like
like
him.
him. There's something about his game that they like, they value. So I'm looking at where all this money is going. Do I see Immanuel Quickley? Oh, I get it. He's a candidate for Sixth Man of the Year in and year out.
Yeah.
Was he someone that they could have seen as someone as part of their future? This trade is proof that it wasn't. There are guys. Listen, Immanuel Quickley. Okay, granted, I understand he's a good player. He's no Damian Lillard, guys. He's no all-star. Let's pump the brakes a little bit here.
He's a
Okay.
Tyrese Maxey type of player.
Well, if he was Tyrese Maxey, he'd be starting. Okay,
Right.
that's another thing.
I'm saying in terms of his one play style and two, his ceiling. That's probably his ceiling.
Oh
Tyrese
no,
Maxey.
yeah, I think he's gonna be way better in Toronto. Let's get that out of the way.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's gonna be way better. But when you have a guy like Quickley on a team with a guy like Jalen Brunson, of course Brunson's gonna start over him. There's probably not gonna be room for an Immanuel. That's just it. There was no room for Immanuel Quickley on this team. His ceiling on this team was Sixth Man of the Year, and he wants to be paid like a starting point guard. If that's gonna happen, then you have to go somewhere where you're probably gonna be a starting point guard.
Joel, I've heard this before, and it's one of the biggest mistakes in NBA history.
It's
James
not
Harden. At the same exact thing. James Harden. This is the same exact situation that stunted the Thunder from ever winning an NBA championship, because they said, this guy's only going to be a six man on our team, so you don't pay him the money. It's what the Thunder did with James Harden. And look at the now. I mean, the Thunder are doing great now, right? But look at what happened to them.
I
Look at what
know.
happened to them.
But again, you're banking on the idea that Immanuel Quickley is going to become a James Harden.
I'm not.
A
I
James
was
Harden.
also not saying that. I think that
I,
he is
I,
going to be just as good as Tyrese Maxey. I think
I'm
that's
not
what
putting words
he's
in your mouth or anything like
at.
that. I'm
Yes.
just saying, like, we don't know what's going to happen with Quickley. We just don't know. Who's to say that he even resigns with Toronto?
We don't know if the Knicks are going to keep OG Anunoby. We don't know if the Knicks are going to do anything
We
because
don't.
this is banking on another trade happening. This trade is banking on another trade,
I
right?
will. I will say. I
Yeah.
think you and I both agree on one point. The Knicks aren't done.
No, they're not done.
They're not done
If they're done, it you should turn in your fan card
because
if they're done.
they have so many first round picks,
Right.
and I think they have three this year. I'm not sure exactly, but they have two or three. Even if they have just two, there is no way that the Knicks are drafting two rookies. There's no way. There's no way they're drafting more than. There's no way they are drafting more than one rookie.
Yeah.
There is no room for more rookies, first round rookies on this team. It's not gonna happen. Get that idea out of your way. If they have three, they're trading two of them for maybe more picks next year or something like that. But there is no shot I can see another rookie on this team developing into anything with this loaded like depth chart. It's just not gonna happen.
It's not. It's such a. Here's my problem. The Knicks are in such a weird situation because you say yes, no one's going to start over them, no one, but all that stuff, and it's true. But the players that these rookies wouldn't start over, they're not championship leading, players that would lead your team to a championship.
That's
Julius
my other
Randle
point.
is not a one. Jalen Brunson is not a one.
I don't know about that.
He's a one on the Knicks, but on a championship team, on a team that is going to make a pursuit at a championship, Jalen Brunson should be your number two option. I love Jalen Brunson, but Jalen Brunson is not going to be the best player on a championship team. Never will, especially with the New York Knicks. It's not going to happen.
I will say,
I love his game. I love Villanova, whatever, but he's not that player.
I think I would have liked this trade so much more if it was Mikal Bridges rather than OG Anunoby. Like if it was just
I'm not against that.
If it was like literally like the same kind of player, the
Not
same kind of guy.
Defensively, you don't get as much from him.
But still, like if it was Mikal rather than OG, it's like, you know what? I think I would have liked this a lot more. Because and it would, the Nova boys coming back,
exactly.
That whole thing would have been cool. But I do agree with you as far as like, the championship team goes, because the Knicks aren't as bad as they were like 5 years ago. Let's get that out of the way. But the Knicks right now, they have 8 guys on their team that I would say they're okay. Yeah, they're you could say they're good. They're good. They're good players. That's it.
Yeah.
They're like Brunson's great. I think Brunson's great. I think Julius Randle is good. He's, despite all the disrespect that this man gets, okay, I understand he's kind of like he's done clown moves and everything like along those. I get it. He's former All NBA, 2-time former All NBA. He's a former 2-time All Star. Okay, the guy's not a bum.
I still think he's got to go. I still think he's got to go.
I don't disagree with you on that part.
Yeah.
I do think that they would benefit on a team without him, with a team without him, but it's just not going to happen anytime soon. I think you just have to wait a little longer for any move on Julius Randle to happen. Once they finally realize that this man is just like, a two ceiling,
right?
A player option 2. That's his ceiling. He's never gonna be a 1.
He's a ball hogging number 2 as a power forward.
His turnovers are the funniest thing. Where like where he's just like on the back and he's just dribbling high, and it's just so. And then guys just rush him and steal the ball. It's so easy. It's easy. So easy to take it from him.
My favorite thing, it's something my brother pointed out too, and I started noticing it, is Julius Randle will get the ball, and he'll start to ISO because Julius Randle is an ISO guy for some reason, and you'll see like Quickley, who used to be there, Quentin Grimes, they're not moving. They're not. They just stand there. They're ready to get back on defense. They're not like trying to make a play because they know Randall's not passing the basketball.
Yeah.
They know it, and The problem is when Melo used to do that, when other ISO players used to do that, their teammates are standing there because, oh, my guy's going to go out there and get a bucket. Not, oh, he's not going to pass the ball. I got to get back on defense. That's Julius Randle. And Julius Randle's not that player. He should be playing more of his role.
I think, first of all, maybe this might cause some controversy. I never really liked Melo on the Knicks. Not really.
I mean, it makes sense.
I really
it makes
didn't.
sense. Those Knicks
No,
teams were never built to win. They were built to have Melo have fun.
Obviously he was a great player. Okay.
Yes.
I'm not denying his greatness. I'm not denying that. Okay.
Yeah.
But him as a player, him as a teammate, I just did not like I blame him for Linsanity ending. That's just me. I blame him for that.
That's not it's a common
But
the thought.
Guys like Carmelo Anthony, guys like Julius Randle, these ball hog players, you're seeing the development of guys like RJ and guys like Quickley kind of being put at a halt.
Yeah.
And the addition of Jalen Brunson, who you realize is a lot better than he was ever on Dallas. So now he's going to be getting buckets. So yeah, their stats are going to now go down. Any chance of Quickley ever had a starting is on the floor now. It was never going to happen. So now it's like, okay, what can we do to accommodate our best players while the guys that were still waiting on development here? Okay, we got no time for to wait anymore. We got no time. Okay. So go find a place where they can develop, where they wouldn't be necessarily mad at going to. RJ goes back to his home. Okay, he goes back to Toronto. RJ's not mad at all. If RJ was to, request a trade or whatever, I think he's stupid because he signed there until 2027. RJ's gonna stay in Toronto. That's not changing. Quickley, on the other hand, you don't know. Quickley's gonna go where the money is. That's where he's going. And whether that be, with Charlotte, any terrible team out there, or Detroit,
Washington,
sure.
Yeah.
But he's chasing the bag.
Yeah.
And
as he should.
The Knicks seeing this, obviously, I think that just shows, like I said before, I just think that shows you that they were never really planning on re-signing him. And also the Knicks this year, they're okay. But even with this team that they still had prior to this trade, they were losing games that they should not have been losing. They were turning the ball over. I mean, they looked mid.
Yeah.
And now they're still mid. But at least at this point, you create a little bit more money, a little bit more in trade exceptions. You get Precious Achiuwa, who, he's just another big body that you can put in there. But OG Anunoby fills in the need that you need right now, and that's defense. And if they think that guys like Dante DiVincenzo, guys like Quentin Grimes can step up and, have more of a scoring role, then I don't hate the move. I don't hate it, but like I said before, it's just, dang, like, why did it have to be RJ? Why did it have to be Quickley?
Why did those guys have to go? and I asked the same question, but I think we ask it for different reasons. My Knicks agenda, and I'm not a Knicks fan. I'm an outside observer. My situation would be Julius Randle is not the player that the Knicks want to prioritize. They should have prioritized RJ's development, quickly bringing him back to New York, because it seemed like he very much enjoyed being a Knick.
Oh yeah,
I would say that he would have been heavily interested in re-signing if the Knicks had the money available to do so. So then my question is, okay, you look at the trade, right? These are two very valuable assets. RJ Barrett locked up, 23-year-old player. Immanuel Quickley, a guy that you can maybe re-sign. Precious Achiuwa and Malachi Flynn are probably not going to be Knicks by the end of the year, or by the end of free agency.
Probably not. No,
they're on 1-year deal. They're gone, right? So at the end of the day, you make this deal, and let's say once the dust settles, Precious Achiuwa is gone, Malachi Flynn is gone, and then what the Knicks get out of this is a 5-year extension of OG Anunoby for however much money he ends up getting, right? Whether it's a max or whatever. So then your team is Julius Randle, Jalen Brunson, and OG Anunoby. That's your top 3 players. That's your big 3. That's what you're building off of. Let's say the Knicks maybe make another trade. They get another decent player, but it's not anything better than those 3. That's the situation, right? So then the
Mm.
Knicks, you look at it, and go, okay. So we gave up a 23-year-old, a 24-year-old, and a second-round pick, and we got a 26-year-old player who's probably hit his ceiling, and it's just a really great defender. My question to you, right? The Raptors are getting out of this two really great young players. Why are the Knicks giving up draft capital? How did the Knicks not get anything back from the Raptors? Because it seems like the Knicks are giving up more value here than the Raptors are giving to New York. Why did the New York Knicks make this trade and not get anything, any pick swap in the first round back from the Toronto Raptors? Why are they the ones giving up capital in this trade? That's my
because they
issue.
because they already have it.
I know they already have it,
I mean, like
but look
I I I,
at Sam Presti.
I
What was
understand
he
that. I
doing?
understand the point. I understand the point that you're trying to make. And yeah, you mentioned Sam Presti with the Thunder. I understand they got a million first round picks. Like
Yeah,
that's a insane situation that they did. He's GM of the century.
it's
But
working.
I'm looking at what the team is now, right? I'm looking at what the team is now and what it potentially could be,
Right.
what they're envisioning. I don't think that they made this move if they didn't think that they could do it. And first of all, free agency, I understand like there's not any like crazy guys out there, but they have a lot of first round picks that they could go out and trade for another guy. Now, I I've heard this rumor. I don't know how true this is. I really don't want to even like think about it that much, but I will ask you,
Yeah.
what do you think about Donovan Mitchell? Because I've heard this rumor
Yeah.
where
I've heard it.
Cleveland they could be considering moving on from Donovan Mitchell because you look at Donovan Mitchell on this team. I'm sorry, but Cleveland hasn't really been all that crazy. It just hasn't really been.
Hasn't worked out.
They're they're okay. Again, they're in a very similar situation as the Knicks, where it's like, yeah, they're okay. They're a good team. There's no one on that team right now that I'm like, oh my god, he's amazing. Oh my god, he's great. Like Donovan Mitchell on this team hasn't done all that much. Like to elevate the Cavaliers, I'm saying. They lost in the first round to the Knicks.
Yeah.
Like they weren't all that good. So, and a lot of these guys are young, and you look at Donovan Mitchell, and it's like, okay, does he really fit the leadership role that this Cavaliers team needs?
He should. He did it in Utah. He did it many times in Utah. He led that team, which was not as great as, I mean, this Cavs team is just as much talent. So I'm not exactly sure where the disconnect is happening. Maybe because Donovan has to play with a strong point guard. Oh no, what would he have to play with in New York? A strong point guard. That's the issue. I don't think Donovan fits very well with this team. That's the problem. And my other thing, right? You get Donovan Mitchell, right? You get him. Let's say you trade. I don't even know who you would trade. You trade a bunch of picks. You trade Josh Hart, Dante DiVincenzo, and I don't know, Jericho Sims and a bunch of picks for Donovan Mitchell, right? You were able to keep Julius. You're able to keep Jalen. You're able to keep OG. You're able to keep, and obviously Donovan. Does that team with Donovan Mitchell, and they might even have to give up Julius Randle in that situation, what does that do to put them over Boston, to put them over Philly, to put them over Milwaukee? Nothing. It gives you maybe another score, but my problem with the Knicks and my problem with a lot of teams in the Eastern Conference is I don't see a path besides drafting really well to put you over those three teams, because nobody on this team can guard Giannis, nobody on this team can guard Tatum, and nobody on this team can figure out how to stop Joel Embiid. So what do you do if you're the Knicks? I don't know. Because you can't blow it up. You're New York. You're not going to blow it up. You have Jalen Brunson. He's a star. But getting Donovan Mitchell, it gives you more talent. But what does it do to put you over those three teams? Does it? Am I missing
No, I
the
mean,
talent there? But I see that the Knicks would be just a perennial 4 seed that could never beat Boston.
I think it's one of those situations where it kind of similar to the OG and kind of similar to this trade. There's no way you could be done, you know?
Yeah,
If
you
you
could,
got
right.
like let's say that is the trade. Let's say that is the trade that you just mentioned. Dante DiVincenzo, Josh Hart, all those guys. Like those are important role players
Yeah.
to this team.
But
They're
the Cavs aren't
very
just going to
important
give
role
you
players.
Donovan.
You get rid of Josh Hart, you get rid of one of your best offensive rebounders. You
Yep.
get rid of Dante DiVincenzo, you get rid of one of your best defenders. You get rid of Jericho Sims. I mean, he's just kind of been a, I'm not even gonna mention. I'm not gonna discuss Jericho Sims, but
Yeah.
you're getting rid of key guys and key first round picks for one guy who's going to be a starter who I feel like you kind of, I don't want to say you don't need him.
You kind of have him in
Yeah,
Jalen Brunson.
you kind of already have him.
Yeah.
But
This is what the Cavs did. This is why it didn't work in Cleveland. They already had Donovan Mitchell, basically. They had Darius Garland build around him.
And thinking about this trade, the
RJ Barrett.
Donovan Mitchell trade,
Okay,
right?
back to Donovan, yeah.
Looking back at that one, like when Utah traded to Cleveland, New York actually had a better offer.
Yes.
But they elected to choose Cleveland strictly because they didn't want to trade him to New York.
Right.
Does Cleveland have that same mentality where they just, the price for New York is a little higher than it would be for other teams just because we just don't want to trade you to New York? It's really all it is.
Right.
And I think Donovan wants to come to New York. I think he wanted to come to New York. I think having guys here that actually want to be here is important. I think that's fairly important for this team's development, for this team's chemistry, and that makes me wonder: was there any sense that maybe? I mean, I know RJ wanted to be here, but Quickley, I don't know necessarily if he was thinking about re-signing with the Knicks.
Right.
I don't know. Like, sure, yeah, maybe if in another universe, if he stayed with here and he re-signed, I would have been wrong, but. I think this trade was eminent that, not telling Quickley about it, not telling, I don't know necessarily if they told RJ about it, but I think there was questions of whether or not they were all in on the Knicks.
Yeah.
And if Leon Rose, I know this man has the ego as, high as the damn sky.
He's up there.
Does he see this and say, you know what? I don't think you're all in. I'm going to go acquire a guy who I know will be all in, who we're gonna make a start. One of the I saw a tweet yesterday that RJ Barrett's usage percentage on the Knicks was like 18%, and OG Anunoby's on the Raptors is like 11.
Yeah.
So his usage percentage is probably gonna be going up a lot on New York, which if that happens and he starts getting better numbers, starts playing a lot differently, it's New York, is a whole different crowd. Who's to say that this man doesn't become a perennial all-star player himself? And if they end up resigning him, yeah, this trade works out. If it doesn't, then yeah, you're probably gonna have to look towards a Donovan Mitchell kind of deal.
And just to pull that Jazz Cleveland trade, so the Cavaliers got Donovan Mitchell. The Jazz gave up Colin Sexton, Lauri Markkanen, and Ochai Agbaji. 3 first-round picks and a 2026 swap and a 2028 swap. So essentially downgrading in 2 drafts and giving up your first-round pick in 3 drafts. Is that level of a trade something that you think New York would be interested in? I would say, I don't know. I would not give up that for Donovan Mitchell right now. And I think his value is much lower than it was back then. But
yeah,
that's his value. You're giving up big-time players. I don't think Cleveland. I don't know if Cleveland would accept it if a Julius Randle was not involved. They're going to ask for Jalen Brunson, which is not happening. They're going to ask for these top tier players. So I don't think the Knicks really have a trade with that team, with the Cleveland Cavaliers that would, I guess, make sense for their future. It wouldn't make any sense, Joel, to me. But again, you have to do something. This can't be the stop. You have to keep going. You have to make another move, Joel. So I don't know. I really don't know. But I guess what we've concluded, so the Knicks, they had to make this trade. You don't hate it. It's okay. Given the Knicks situation, fine. Do what you had to do. Resign OG Anunoby, get it done. For me,
yeah.
For
I was just
me,
gonna say, like, as far as like a conclusion goes, what would you grade this trade for both teams?
The Raptors finish with about a B plus, I would say, and the Knicks get a. I'm not going to give them an F. I'll give them a C. I'll give them a C on this trade.
I was gonna say, like, at least for the Knicks, short term, I would give them a B minus.
Yeah, short term I like it, but I don't think short term gets you anywhere because you have three.
Long term could potentially be an F minus.
Yeah,
okay?
exactly.
Let's be honest.
Exactly.
It could honestly be an F minus. But
yeah,
as far as the Raptors go, I'm talking both short term and long term. I think this is a solid B.
Yeah.
I think it's a solid B. If Immanuel quickly re-signs with them, it's an A.
It's perfect.
You're getting good players.
The thing is, I don't think any of these, I guess, mediocre, not to put it in a simple term, teams, you should not be making short-term moves because you have a Hydra at the top of the Eastern Conference. But that'll do it for our next conversation. We're going to move on to... Thank you so much for watching this episode of Break Panel Sports, and we are here in the beautiful backyard of our friend Jeff. But I'm John.
And I'm Joel. Make sure to look for more on our Spotify and YouTube. We'll see you next time.